The timing was quite something, and it was really a hard time because we had COVID lockdowns and George Floyd, and that was also the time that the Dismantling Racism Study Group came out with their report, which showed that there was racism in the congregations, and that caused a lot of people to start reflecting on themselves. And that's when I was thinking, I don't even know if there's any BIPOC or IBPOC people in my congregation. I knew one or two, but that was it. Where are they hiding, and are there any? And so that's why I scraped together all the names that I could and just cold called them and said, you want to join this little group I'm thinking of?
It was scary to go into the all white space, and then so it was easier for me. I felt it was easier for me to be in the IBPOC space.
It's really important for every congregation to have an affinity group for Black, Indigenous, and people of color, because it creates a safe space where people of color can share their experiences and their perspectives without being worried of feeling judged or misunderstood by people who might not relate to those experiences or have gone through the same things as them. And not every person of color has gone through the same things, but it's a really great space where we can all share our personal experiences and learn from each other, learn from each other's cultures, learn from each other's traditions. A great way to attract people of color and Black and Indigenous folks who might be scared to come into congregation because they're worried they'll be the only one who's not white, but it's really great to know, so they can know that they'll have that space where they'll be able to be listened to and understood, and they'll always have a community.
As I said, I've known visit Unitarians since 2004 and then never felt it belonging until I met the IBPOC group, to kind of like an entrance point to the bigger community. And then once I become part of the IBPOC, then I get to know the much bigger community and women's group.
And so with the Asian Heritage Month, we made vignettes that would be shown, short vignettes that would be shown to normalize our faces. We had the Friday film nights, where we brought in Muslim speakers, and then what was his name? Chuck Kwan
from Toronto. He took filmmaker the
great.
Chinese restaurants around the world showcasing.
And then we had a band, and we had taiko drumming, and these are all connections to the community. It was amazing.
And I was, I really saw everybody came in, supported the IBPOC Plus, the whole community, and that's when made me feel member of the larger community, is to see everybody involved.
But it was the exploding of energy from this tiny group, the organizers, and the creativity, and then the breadth of connections that everybody had to the outside community, that they could bring in all this talent, the guest speakers, and I was just blown away by that. And I hope that the congregation really got it, that this was like, these are people that traditionally are ignored or left at the back, the IBPOC, and yet here they are having these amazing connections to the community. I don't know if people know that the reason that we formed the IPA was because the IBPOC was stretched too thin. We were a really small group, and out of that group, only a tiny handful were really computer savvy, social media savvy, also knew UCV, the culture and the administration. So it was absolutely exhausting. And then we realized that there's this whole group of people waiting for the chance to lend a hand, just waiting if we would just reach out and ask. And so that has just been the most heartwarming thing, to see the interest of the community.
To me, ally has so multifunction. in our development, because they can be our bridges, and also I think they serve as the buffer. Some of the people find us a little bit uncomfortable to get into right away, but when they see that there's these allies, people who seem to be very comfortable having a role to play, then they say, oh, maybe I can.
I think it would appeal to Unitarians who believe in the principles, because it gives them an opportunity to actually live out these principles. So to me, that seems very important, and I think that Unitarians could feel happy about it. Like, we have these principles and we're showing how you actually implement them.
I was really delighted when the Allies group opened up as well. And I also have to say, from being in the trenches before in the schools, when people reached out as allies, it made a tremendous difference to being understood, to being supported, to having fun. So, and it made the work easier, better, and more fun. So that's why I was excited to become an ally.
A really exciting and wonderful way for me to learn with the help of IBPOC folk, and to be supportive, and to engage in activities, and to learn how to do and to do it well, or to do it better. I have really appreciated all the friendship that is present, and I feel it's very comfortable to acknowledge what I don't know, what I need help with. I get supportive responses, so it's a very safe learning environment.
I was drawn to the IBPOC Plus Allies group for a few reasons. The first is recognizing, my very strong belief that anti-racism work is not BIPOC work, it's white work. Was seeking people who would self-select, white people who would self-select to be part of that group, wanting to have a sense of community and again, sort of partnership.
With the help of allies from the greater congregation, we can also share culture with everyone in the congregation, which just allows everyone to better understand each other and know where each other is coming from.
One of the foremost thing to do is to connect with the leadership of your church and see where they are at. Are they also share your goal? Do we see more or less the same vision? I think this is so important. That's how I felt that we came about with that support.
We came at a time when there was already a feeling among the congregation that we need to do things differently. So we had this really innovative interim minister. We had a dynamic board. The staff were amazingly supportive. And then the IBPOC had already been meeting for a couple of months, so had managed to develop trust in each other and friendships, so that we could then take a deep breath and go in to do these events. And I think that if it was to come from above, or if it was one person who was feeling that they were not being supported, it wouldn't work.
I was thinking about that before we got together here today, about how many does it take to get things moving, and it seems to me you would have to have certainly you have to have at least 2 or 3 IBPOC people, probably the same of non-IBPOC, and just to get started, so that you have enough to have a discussion and to entertain some ideas, and just on a casual basis kind of think about things, and before sort of going all out. But the key thing for me, as I thought about it, is Like, could this have happened without the interest being there of IBPOC? Could there be just non-IBPOC people come forward and start something like this? I don't think so. Like, I certainly agree with what Catherine said earlier about this is white people work. You know, a lot of what the learning is to do, but the whole thing of getting something started, there has to be some IBPOC people who are interested in it to begin with. I mean, that's how I see it at this point.
You, Megumi, Tomiko, and Cynthia, you know, you were and are the inspiring, dynamic group that got it going. But every congregation will be different. And all I can say is I hope everybody does it. This work is really important.
Yeah.
Find your sparks, nurture them, and set the fire and get going, because this work is important, necessary, and fun too.